Would you believe this photograph started out life as this photograph? And the difference was done with pure technology.
Hey everybody and welcome. Today I'm going to show you a technique that allows you to use a lower ISO, higher shutter speeds, and smaller f-stops without having to use high ISOs and use denoising software. And that's what's in this video. I'm going to show you some settings that'll blow your mind. Here it comes. Today we're going to discuss ISO invariance and what it means to you and as a concert photographer and how it can be used to your advantage. It is a great big deal and this could be a game changer. So what does it do? What it allows you to do is use a lower ISO, shoot what you're going to shoot, and then process it in post and scale up in post the exposure with little to none of your noise factored into it. There's going to be almost zero noise. You gain all of that without any noise. And that is a big deal.
This is a photograph of Gary Hoey shot at the Dallas International Guitar Festival. He is in the warehouse indoor stage, and I had just come in from the outdoor stage that was in bright sunlight. I had the settings still the same, and this was a quick shot, and I just took it. And while looking at it while sorting, I said, what can I do with it? And I started playing with it, and I will show you the results of what the photograph actually turned out as. Okay, if you look at this photograph, I boosted the exposure by one full stop. That's all I did. I didn't adjust anything else, and this is the result by boosting it just one stop. Here it is on the second slide, and you can see I boosted it only 2 stops, changed nothing else, and we're getting a little bit better. And you can see in this slide I boosted the exposure 3 full stops and adjusted color temperature and some other settings, and this is the finished product. So it is a whole lot different. The ISO in which this was shot was 1600, but using this technique, it's like 3 stops. So it'd go from 1600 to 3200 to 6400 to 12,800. It would be your equivalent ISO, but notice you have no noise and you don't have any funkiness going on in the photograph.
So what does it all mean? What it means is if you use a lower ISO and you use higher shutter speeds and a smaller f-stop, you can get away with it and push process your photograph in exposure in something. Lightroom does it. I use Photoshop, but I've gone as high as 4.5 stops up, and you get results like this. So it doesn't mean you have to worry about so much. Now, the only problem is your camera sensor has to be what they call ISO invariant. What you'll need to do is you'll need to check to see if your camera and its sensor is ISO invariant. A lot of older Canons are not, and what happens is when you try to do this technique with them, when you increase the exposure, it starts to generate noise and starts to look like a sand painting. It's ugly. But the new R series, the 3, the 5, the 6, the 7, they're pretty much ISO invariant. The 1DX Mark III is ISO invariant. I know from what I understand, the 5D Mark IV is, and the 80D. So you need to really check to make sure that your camera is that way before you try this, especially if you're doing it for money. But anyway, so be very careful and look it up and test it yourself first before anything important happens. I'm going to show you another example of this. This one's of Marcus Jones at the Dallas Art Company in Deep Ellum, and it's a very dark club. It's got unusual lighting, but it gives you a good example of what you can do in small club situations. You can, if you have this kind of capability. I know a lot of people have issues with the darkness in there, but you don't have to fight the darkness. you can use this technique and it'll help you beat that problem. So I'm going to show you this right now and take a look at the photos.
This will give you an idea how dark this is. The focal length is 86 millimeter and it is shot at 1/250th of a second at f2.8. So you can tell from the original, which this is what this is, that the club is very dark. This slide also gives you an idea of the basic initial settings. So take a look at these. You can see nothing's been done, no exposure correction, nothing like that. It's pretty much original. In this slide, you'll notice that I've adjusted the exposure by 1 stop, and everything else is still the normal way it came out of the camera, except for the exposure is boosted just at 1 stop. And now for the finished product. You can see that I boosted the exposure 2 stops. I set the color temperature correctly and made some little fine-tuning adjustments to the photograph. But this is the final shot. If you look at the original and you look at this, you will see a major difference.